Darian Shadowgleam Ravenstone. The chipped porcelain of the teacup warmed my palm, a pathetic comfort against the perpetual damp of this godforsaken port town. They call me Shadowgleam, though most just whisper it with a side eye. Darian Ravenstone, if you must know, though that name carries less weight these days. I hadn't planned to take on a student. Not after Elias. But then she walked into the dust and relics shop, all sharp angles and unsettlingly bright eyes. A girl named Lyra, claiming to have a map to the Sunstone, a gem said to pulse with the very light of forgotten gods. Fool's errand, of course. But the desperation clinging to her reminded me too much of my own youth, of chasing shadows and believing in myths. She offered me half. A pathetic share, but enough to pique my interest, and a strange, sickening hope bloomed in my chest. It wasn't the Sunstone that drew me in, not really. It was the ghost of a purpose. Lyra possessed a raw, almost unsettling talent for deciphering ancient glyphs. She wasn't polished, not like the scholars I'd encountered, but she had a hunger, a desperation to understand that I recognized. We followed the map, a brittle parchment smelling of salt and decay, through the whispering marshes and into the Blacktooth Mountains. Each step raised the stakes. We weren't alone. Old Man Hemlock, a rival treasure hunter with a reputation for cruelty, was also after the Sunstone, and he wasn't shy about leaving a trail of misfortune for anyone who dared to compete. Lyra, bless her naive heart, saw it as a challenge. I saw it as a countdown. Hemlock wasn't after the gem for glory. He wanted its power, and that was a dangerous ambition in the wrong hands. The air grew colder, the shadows longer, and I felt a familiar dread creeping into my bones. This wasn't just about a gem anymore. It was about preventing a catastrophe. We found the Sunstone hidden within a cyclopean ruin, a place that felt wrong, like a tear in the fabric of reality. It wasn't radiating light, as the legends claimed, but absorbing it, casting the chamber into an oppressive darkness. Hemlock was already there, attempting to pry the gem free with crude tools, his face contorted with greed. A struggle ensued, brutal and swift. Lyra, surprisingly agile, distracted Hemlock while I went for the mechanism securing the Sunstone. But Hemlock, desperate, grabbed Lyra, holding a rusty blade to her throat. A point of no return. I had a choice, the gem, or her life. There was no hesitation. I lunged, disarming Hemlock, but not before he managed to graze my arm with the blade. The Sunstone pulsed, and the ruin groaned, the chamber collapsing around us. We escaped, barely, but the damage was done. The Sunstone was ours, but at what cost? My arm throbbed, the wound festering despite Lyra's rudimentary attempts at healing. The Sunstone, however, wasn't the treasure we'd imagined. It didn't offer power or enlightenment, it radiated a cold, draining emptiness. Lyra, obsessed with understanding it, spent hours studying its facets, her usually vibrant eyes growing hollow. I tried to warn her, to tell her it was a curse, but she wouldn't listen. Hemlock, surprisingly, hadn't died. He was wounded, broken, but he was hunting us, fueled by a vengeful rage. He knew something we didn't, something about the Sunstone's true nature. He started spreading rumors, whispering about a forgotten deity, a being imprisoned within the gem, waiting for a vessel. A vessel like Lyra. The tension mounted with each passing day, the air thick with paranoia and dread. I felt a sickening realization dawn upon me. I hadn't saved her, I'd led her into a trap. Lyra is gone. Vanished into the night, taking the Sunstone with her. I found her journal, filled with frantic scribblings about voices, about a promise of power, about becoming something more. Hemlock was right. The Sunstone wasn't a treasure, it was a prison, and Lyra, with her insatiable curiosity and desperate hunger for knowledge, had unlocked the door. I searched for her for weeks, following a trail of whispers and shattered illusions. I finally found her in the abandoned temple of Xylos, standing before a crumbling altar, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. She wasn't Lyra anymore. She was a conduit, a vessel for a malevolent entity. The deity within the Sunstone had found its release. And I, the seasoned treasure hunter, the cynical mentor, was left with nothing but the crushing weight of my failure and the horrifying realization that I hadn't just lost a student, I'd unleashed a darkness upon the world. My greatest fear had come true. I had become the architect of my own despair.